Welcome into Tailgate Thursday for week number 2 of the 2024 college football season. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society, here to preview the upcoming college football games featuring our Vols, the SEC, and games across the nation. We begin with our beloved Tennessee Volunteers, ranked number 14 in this week's AP Top 25 poll. They will head to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Dukes Mayo Classic to take on number 24 NC State. That will be a 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on ABC. Nico Iamaleava, what a start to the season for him. 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, all in one half of action. Yes, it was the Chattanooga Moss that the Vols took on, but it was still very impressive to see the redshirt freshman put up that type of performance, winning co-freshman of the week in the SEC, and now a bigger stage and a bigger opponent under the lights as they take on NC State. Meanwhile, for the Wolfpack, struggled in their last game against Western Carolina, ended up pulling out the game late to get the win. Casey Concepcion had 3 touchdowns in that game, over 100 yards receiving, kind of Mr. Do-It-All on offense for them. Grayson McCall, the starting quarterback for NC State, former Coastal Carolina quarterback, set all sorts of school records, and now up here at NC State. But we shall see what happens as the Vols and the Wolfpack meet Saturday night in the Queen City. Big noon Saturday on Fox. Top 10 showdown featuring 2 of college football's premier programs. Number 3, Texas. Number 10, Michigan. Should be a lot of fun. Texas with their got their season opening win last week at home against Colorado State. Quinn Ewers had an excellent game in that matchup. We'll see what happens as they head to the Big House. Meanwhile, for Michigan, Sherman Moore's full-time head coaching debut took on Fresno State. Had a bit of a struggle with the Bulldogs, but ended up pulling out the game late. Michigan's got a couple of talented players. Donovan Edwards, the cover athlete on College Football 25, 1 of 3. Actually, you have 2 of the cover athletes in Quinn Ewers and Donovan Edwards, talented running back at Michigan, and then Will Johnson, a talented shutdown quarter for the Wolverines. So a lot of playmakers in this game. Should be a lot of fun. Rare that we get, these 2 top programs meeting in the regular season like this, especially early on. Kind of I guess you could say a bit of a nostalgia feel to it. But it's number 3 Texas, number 10 Michigan, 12 noon Eastern Time on Fox. Another noon game in Stillwater. Doesn't have the excitement as a Texas and Michigan, but it's an SEC Big 12 showdown. Arkansas heads to Stillwater to take on number 10 Oklahoma State. That's going to be on ABC. Ollie Gordon, a talented running back for the Cowboys. Outside of maybe Donovan Edwards, probably the most talented running back in the nation at this point. Meanwhile for Oklahoma State got the win last week against South Dakota State. Meanwhile for Arkansas, they had their season opening win against Arkansas Pine Bluff. That game was pretty much over by the second quarter. Taylor Green had a nice debut for Arkansas, and even Bobby Petrino, back as Arkansas's offensive coordinator, put up a lot of points. I kind of expect to be in a high-scoring game. Should be very interesting. Sam Pittman has the tendency to pull some upset wins along the way, but we shall see what happens in Stillwater Saturday afternoon. An interesting matchup down on the plains of Auburn. California taking on the Auburn Tigers for a 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on ESPN2. These 2 teams met last year in Berkeley. Cal led that game for the most part, and Auburn ended up coming back and winning that one. And now we'll see what happens in this second go-around. Auburn, looked really good against Alabama A&M. Cam Coleman had a touchdown in that game. The talented true freshman wide receiver. Matter of fact, they got a really good wide receiving crew. It's just with Peyton Thorne, you just never know what you get with him at quarterback. But we shall see. I think this is kind of a little bit of a must-win game for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers before just kind of at least build some momentum up for the most part. But we shall see what happens as the Golden Bears and the Tigers meet Saturday afternoon. 3:30 on ABC, we head to the Bluegrass State. South Carolina taking on Kentucky. Man, South Carolina got into a battle with Old Dominion, a game that was, went through weather delays and then just kind of a flat performance from the Gamecocks. Sellers, the quarterback for South Carolina, ended up helping them get the win in that one. Meanwhile, for Kentucky, another team that went through a lengthy weather delay against Southern Miss. I think that game didn't get started till like 9 o'clock, and then had another weather delay right before midnight, and they just called the game off after 3 quarters, which Kentucky ended up winning 31-0. Hopefully the weather be better for this one, but kind of a must-win game really for both of these clubs as they try to climb the very heavy competitive SEC as the Gamecocks and the Wildcats meet one more time. 3:30 on ABC. Our final SEC game we're going to preview here, going to the desert in Tempe, Mississippi State taking on Arizona State. This is a late kickoff, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN. To me, these are kind of two even teams. Jeff Lebby had a nice performance in his head coaching debut for Mississippi State, defeating Eastern Kentucky. Meanwhile, for Arizona State, they end up getting the win at home against Wyoming. Like I said, this is just a very even matchup. This is pretty much a pick'em game. Like I said, if you can manage to stay up late and catch this one, might be a fairly entertaining game as the Bulldogs meet the Sun Devils. All right, a couple of games across the nation will get you out of here. An interesting showdown in the ACC, as the ACC outside of Miami has just had a pretty poor week one with Clemson losing, Virginia Tech losing, Florida State already 0-2 in conference play. But I guess you could say two of the brighter spots outside of Miami is going to meet at the Carrier Dome Saturday afternoon at noon on the ACC Network. Number 23 Georgia Tech taking on Syracuse. For Georgia Tech, we saw, they had that nice win. Actually, a huge win at the time, we thought, against Florida State in Ireland. Ended up getting a win against Georgia State last week at home, which is funny because both of those teams and their football stadiums are just right across the interstate from each other. But anywho, for this game, like I said, Haynes King and Georgia Tech, they got a nice running attack. Meanwhile, for Syracuse, Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback, now the QB at Syracuse. Like I said, this is a must-win game for an ACC that needs to find a team to really crawl to the top and possibly challenge Miami. So we'll see what happens as the Yellow Jackets and the Orange meet Saturday at the Carrier Dome. And then finally at 7:30 on NBC, we rarely, I guess outside of some SEC games, we rarely focus on a non-top 25 matchup, I'm trying to say, but a game that does have a lot of intriguing to it. Colorado taking on Nebraska, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Coach Prime Deion Sanders had to survive North Dakota State, which North Dakota State, one of the tougher SCS programs. I guess you could say the Alabama or Georgia and what used to be called 1AA. But still, this team has talent, but, this seems like just don't really play good team ball. It seems like they pad a lot of stats. But Shedeur Sanders, talented quarterback, Travis Hunter, I would say the best player in college football at this point. Jimmy Horn Jr., nice wide receiver. And then the other Sanders, a pretty good shutdown corner. Meanwhile, for Nebraska, Dilla Raiola, at one time Georgia commit, now the starting quarterback at Nebraska, trying to get some sort of a potent offense for Matt Rule. And, we shall see. Like I said, these two teams used to meet the day after Thanksgiving. Now we're going to see them meet, a weekend after Labor Day. But it's Colorado, Nebraska, 7:30 on NBC. That's going to wrap it up for Tailgate Thursday. Enjoy the college football action, and we'll be right back here for more Tailgate Thursday next week, right here on our Ball Society social media pages. Don't forget to listen to Good Old Rocky Talk podcasts as we preview that NC State game. And also join us for Vol Society Live each and every week where your voice will be heard. Until next time, enjoy the football. We'll talk to y'all next